right, welcome back. Let's see if we can reconnect with David Olujinmi, analyst at SBM Intelligence. Hello, David. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So let's go ahead into it. What does this pot of jollof rice mean? 29,578 naira to cook a decent pot of jollof rice, and it also varies across the country. What does this index mean, and why are you guys rebasing the index after about 10 years, first time in a decade?
So the index basically measures like the instruments or the ingredients rather used in cooking some of Nigeria's most popular dish, which is jollof rice, and we see that from state to state, region to region, it's the most common food that we can use to track food inflation in the country. It's not it's a on the spot assessment. This is how we try to measure on the spot food inflation basically in the country. From region to region, there's price disparity majorly because of the different factors. There are a range of factors that affect food prices across each state, from Lagos to Abuja to Rivers to Bauchi. It's a range of factors. So we discover that in certain places you have factors like supply inefficiencies. Then in some places we have rural access, so we have problems with the roads where the floods or the recent rainfall that we've been having have sort of destroyed the roads that are bringing things like tomato and rice and onions to the markets. Those are some of the issues we have. The point is, the 29,000 naira, it's a measure of the 12, we basically measure 12 things. We measure the price of rice, we measure the price of tomatoes, peppers, we measure the price of onions, we measure the price of oil, then we measure the price of the proteins, that's chicken, turkey, egg. We measure the price of the seasoning cubes also used. And one thing that we've seen is that since we started tracking this index in 2016, every region in Nigeria has seen at least a 400% rise in the price of a pot of rice. So we track it like, okay, this is the volume of rice that an average family of 4, mother, father, and 4 children would generally eat at a go. So unlike in Ghana where we've seen it go up mildly for the past 10 years, in Nigeria we've seen a drastic increase, a drastic rise in the price of these ingredients. But the point is, it's a benchmark that we use to measure on the spot assessment. An average person on the street would probably not understand what the consumer price index means or what the inflation basket is all about. They may not really have to deal with, but we are trying to make it as basic and as easy as it can be to easily track what is food inflation in the country saying.
And they will basically understand jollof rice apparently.
Yes, understand
yes.
At least you can somebody that from 2016 till date, the price of cooking a pot of jollof rice has gone up from 5,000 to 29,000 naira, and they would understand. It's something they can relate with.
What specific market behaviors forced the structural change that we saw from switching from turkey to chicken? I mentioned earlier on that turkey is now a luxury, you know.
So in Calabar, where this happened the most, we discovered that there was an issue with the size. So there's a trust deficit people have with the size. I think the product is sold pre-packaged. So when you want to buy a kilo of turkey, you unlike in Lagos or in most parts of the country where they will cut it in front of you and measure it. It's already packaged into the nylon. So do you notice that
we have the same thing here in Abuja?
Oh, okay. So most people would there's a trust deficit. People are discovering that, okay, what I used to measure as 1 kilo is dropping. 1 kilo is not meant to drop, but in the market it is dropping. So that trust deficit came into play, and for most of our respondents, they noted that they have stopped patronizing turkey. And another part is actually the cost. The cost is a lot. Turkey is majorly imported into Nigeria, and when you consider all of the factors of exchange rates decline, you consider the all of the tariffs and duties, basically the the cost implication of now using Turkey has become something that most Nigerians will not want to deal with. Yeah, so there's been that gradual shift away from Turkey, a very big and huge shift. And I'm sure even the Turkey sellers are feeling it, that a lot of people cannot, because it's the same bird. Both of them are birds, essentially.
But one is bigger than the other, and one costs more than the other. One is not an expensive bird than the other. Naturally speaking, yeah. Even Turkey is bigger, but should that justify the astronomical price?
Does it justify the cost implication? Some people have switched from fish to eggs, so we began to see that there's a spike in demand.
From fish to crayfish. Even crayfish is not cheap. Eggs are not even cheap too.
So there's a lot to say
about 6,000, 6,500. It depends on how big the eggs are.
So when you look at eggs, for example, you discover that over the past 10 years, it's been a 1,000% increase in the price of eggs from when we started tracking it till date.
I remember when I used to buy a crate of egg for 750 naira. Then it went to 800, then 900. These are
everyday realities that people deal with in their daily lives. It's not a central bank figure. It's not the central bank statistics. We had to go to the market, talk to the sellers, talk to the farmers, talk to the middlemen between the farmers and the markets, talk to the people who actually cook. We had to talk to people across the country to get an overview of what these prices are looking like.
Taking a look at your report, I'm also seeing a widening regional gap. The gap between the cheapest market, Oka at 22,050 naira to cook a pot of jollof rice, and the most expensive, Calabar Municipal, at 34,750 naira. So that gap has widened to about 12,700 naira from your report. My question is, why are coastal cities and port cities like Calabar, Port Harcourt seeing severe spikes compared to the southeast?
So the major difference, the major effect, or the major reason behind this is the distance. One of the major issues is the distance. For cities in the southeast, their geographical location, at least we used to know that back in the days before all of the split, it was known as the East Central State. It was known as the East Central State. Basically, all of these states are in a geographically more advantageous position. They are closer to the north than the people in the south-south. They are more agrarian than people in the south-south. I think, yeah, all the states in the southeast are more agrarian than the states in the south-south, because the states in the south-south have become essentially sort of oil region. Yeah, they are like the oil region of the country. But there is one state that is geographically disadvantaged considering the kind of country we live in, which is Cross River State. And if you were, and I was on this show the last time to talk about our cost of living,
quality of life.
Quality of life reports that we did, and where Cross River residents really were not very positive about their outlook on the state. Cross River State is the most eastward of the Nigerian states. It's the most eastward of the Nigerian states, and unfortunately they have one of the worst states of access roads in the country. They don't have the privilege of having oil like their neighbors. They're the only state in the south-south without oil. And they are the only state in the country with the most, with the highest, they are the biggest states in the south-south geographically, but they also have the highest volume of bad roads. So the cost of living in that place is also reflecting in this report. You can see that there is a trend that's showing from our quality of life report to the Jollof Index. It shows that there is something that would probably have to happen drastic. Maybe they have to become more agrarian, because a lot of things that they are naturally importing from Taraba State, Benue State, importing from Adamawa, basically states along the eastern corridor of the country, are things that they can farm normally, are things that can be found in Cross River State. But it's a trend that they do not necessarily farm those products, essentially. Okay. But the point is, the gap is also widening because of the kind of life that the people in the states live. One, I mentioned, there are structural deficiencies. Structural deficiencies are becoming very huge, they are becoming a significant driver of these things, in the sense that rural access roads are becoming terrible. They've been, it's a legacy, but
Despite
I
the high
think,
FAC allocations.
yes, so rural
That's
access roads have become the distance from the farms to the
to the
markets,
market.
and the roads that lead to this, the roads that connect these two things. They are basic things that state governments have to obviously focus on. If you have a high farm, you have a very agrarian community that is responsible for a high volume of your food output, you need to start looking at constructing the roads that lead to those places.
Okay.
These basic factors, affecting the quality of and cost of food in a state like Cross River. Cross River is a very big example of where you can always say this is a big factor. The distance between Ogoja to Calabar, it's a lot, and the roads are terrible.
Okay, David, let's talk about the death of bulk buying, like I mentioned at the beginning of the program. You guys, your report has said that bulk buying is disappearing, which I also mentioned at the beginning of the program, that
Yes.
households are switching now to meal by meal. So they go to the market, buy as they can cook, eat it. If they want to go again, if they want to eat again, they go. So it's meal by meal, as it were. And families are swapping meats for crayfish or even pomo, as it is. What does this extreme household adaptation, what does it, how does it impact broader consumer demand and even market turnover? Because even in our earlier report about the cost of doing business in the country, many Nigerians were of the view that, of course, people are not even buying anymore. So consumer confidence is being affected.
So one of the biggest issues with economic reform is one of the biggest issues when you have economic reforms like we've had in our own case is that whatever economic reform you have that is going to affect the ability for people to go to the market and spend and buy is a big, it's disadvantageous not just to your political structure. It's disadvantageous to the economy because consumer spending is a huge and significant part of economic growth. Whenever you're going to promote economic growth, it means that you're going to drive consumer spending. Consumer spending basically drives demand. Basically, demand drives supply. Supply drives incentive to produce more. Incentive to produce more drives incentive to invest more. Incentive to invest more drives incentive to pay more taxes. Incentives to pay more taxes drives incentives for government to spend more. It's a cycle that keeps on. But whenever you hit the first base, which is consumer spending, you have hit every other thing that follows. And that is what has happened to Nigeria in the past few. Now we have a situation where from bulk buying, I don't want to, if we want to cross over to the part of the producers, we also see that even the producers are reducing bulk buying because inventory turnover rate is increasing. When I mean it is that's increasing, it is reducing rather. Inventory turnover rate in the sense that the rate at which companies, producers are now expending raw materials, they are no longer piling up raw materials that like they used to or would naturally do, because one, they don't have the amount of capital that is necessary for such endeavors. They also do not have the markets to just keep raw materials and finished goods stockpiled. They always try that. Many of them are now trying to reduce their capacity utilization rates of their factories. The whole point of this, all of this stems from the fact that consumer spending has been hit hard. People don't have the kind of money that they naturally would have to spend and to buy things the way they would. Purchasing power has really been, our purchasing power parity has been hit. At least there's been a significant decline in it. People don't have what it takes to just naturally go to the market and spend as much as they would. So as all of this as all of the inflation has hit pockets, it is not being commensurate with earnings. If it were commensurate with earnings, then we would not see that much disparity. But considering the fact that it's not being commensurate with earnings, means that people have to now resort to buy what they can cater for. They have to. You can't go into credits you can't go into debt trying to source for food.
Okay.
For next 1 month. Yeah.
David, I think we'll leave it at that. One also important thing in the report is that climate change is becoming an inflation driver. So that is worthy of note, to talk about it. But thank you very much, David. That's the much we can take on today's edition of the program. We'll continue to track this. Just like I mentioned at the beginning, a pot or a plate of jollof rice, when you are eating it, don't see it the same way again. It's not just food. It tells you a lot about the economy, the structural weaknesses we're seeing. If the amount you use in cooking a pot of jollof rice or having that plate of jollof rice on your table, even when you go to the buka, it's reducing. All right, that's the much we can take on today's edition of the program. Thank you for joining us. Be the best you can be and be the change that you want to see. I am Nancy Nnaji. Bye for now.